WHYTEE. If you're black, nothing for you. But if you're white, there's something for you. In the world, white is right, but black is wrong.
Oh, so fabulous.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel once again. It's your girl Dumebi. If this is your first time coming across my channel, you're welcome to my channel. I do hope you decide to subscribe and join the big happy family. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back once again. You guys know that I love you. It's so good to have you here. So today's video is something that I've had sitting in my draft for a while, and for some reason I just did not talk about it, but I'm led to talk about it today. Okay, so we're going to be going over to the beauty pageantry world and some incidences that happened late last year, where basically there are representatives of African countries in these beauty pageants who are not fully African, okay? In Nigeria, we have Miss Lydia Balogun, who is biracial, and in Zimbabwe, we had Miss Brooke, who is actually a full-grown, palm-colored, Caucasian, envelopian woman, a colonizer, if you will. So these are two different beauty pageants, don't get me wrong, but it's basically sparked the same conversation, and it happened around the same period, and so many blogs in Africa, even the Shade Room carried it, and there was a lot of discourse around this particular subjects. So I just thought to mesh them up into one video and talk about it. So basically, there was this video that was dropped. That is the video that shows the Nigerian representative, the Miss Nigeria, Lydia Balogun, the biracial girl. And I'm not going to lie. I did not notice her because I was too busy staring at the gorgeous black beauty beside her. It was after watching it several times that I realized that, oh, there was Miss Nigeria just behind her. The lady in front is a representative of Ghana, who I've actually talked about on this channel before. You guys go and check out that video. Miss Claudia Darling, she's amazing. And did I mention she actually saw my video, gave me a shout out on Instagram, and we now follow each other. I just thought to put that in, okay? So I think the backlash for Miss Nigeria got even worse because she was standing right next to this beautiful melanated queen, and people were comparing that the Nigerian woman doesn't even look Nigerian, and they were actually comparing her to the Ghanaian woman who they felt was an obvious and way better true representative of African black beauty. So the fact that she was standing beside that melanated beauty did not help her case, okay? But that doesn't mean she's not beautiful in her own right, okay? I'm not saying that. Let's put that out there. So the second case is the case of Miss Brooks from Zimbabwe, who won this beauty pageant, and I think now has to go and represent Zimbabwe on a worldwide scale beauty pageant as well. And there was backlash and some conflict of opinions because some people felt it's not a big deal. She's as Zimbabwean as they come, and some other people felt this person cannot represent us as a whole.
People are calling the crowning of a white woman in the Miss Zimbabwe pageant tragic and disappointing, sparking controversy around the 2023 beauty pageant, which took place on September 16th.
12! Big round of applause for contestant number 12, Miss Universe Zimbabwe!
Brooke Jackson, a 21-year-old model and native of Harare, Zimbabwe, was crowned Miss Zimbabwe and is set to represent the country in the 2023 Miss Universe pageant, scheduled for November 18th. However, not everyone was supportive of Zimbabwe's new reigning beauty queen. Social media users flooded to their keyboards to express their anger and outrage at Brooke Jackson, a blonde, fair-skinned white woman winning Zimbabwe's crown.
She's from Zimbabwe. She has the right to be able to represent the country where she lives in.
They believe a black woman should have been the winner, especially since the demographics show that only about 2% of Zimbabwe's population is non-black.
This journey, we are able to represent our country, our people, and what it truly means to be a Zimbabwean.
One user's comments reads, "Extremely tragic and disappointing," and "My ancestors rolling in their graves." Another user raged on X, formerly known as Twitter, writing, "Imagine crowning a white person Miss Zimbabwe. That means there is no black woman in Zimbabwe who is up to her standard." Others have come to Brooke Jackson's defense online, causing a full-blown heated racial debate within the comments of her Instagram victory post. Many social media users were quick to point out that no one seems bothered by the crowning of a black woman as Miss Ireland in their 2023 2023 pageant, when Ireland is a historically mostly white country. Overall, the negative comments and harassment were too much for Brooke Jackson, and she was forced to deactivate comments on her heartfelt Instagram post. She has since spoken publicly to say that skin color should not define a person, writing, "The color of our skin should not define a person or who each person chooses to associate with. This is to say we are all born the same way, no matter the color of your skin. We are brought into earth through the same path."
So now, let me just go right ahead and play people's commentary and reaction to this whole situation.
The winner of Miss Universe Zimbabwe, Brooke Johnson, I think, or Jackson. I should have read the name before this. But anyway, I didn't even know there was a contest like this in Zim. So I'm surprised. But anyway, she won fair and square apparently. And most people I've spoken to, I've checked on in Zim, are fine with this win. But many people abroad, in America, the UK, the Caribbean, South America, I've seen them comment on this and they're very offended, which is kind of strange to me. Like, why are you offended? Because she's white and the country's all black. Why? I don't know. I don't think it's an issue. 2 years ago, was it? Miss Ireland was black. I'm pretty sure there's other areas of the world where the black person won, even though it's a majority Caucasian, whatever country it is. So it's not a problem. If she won fair and square, she respects the culture. She's there. She's representing the flag. I ain't got no problem with that. As a Zimbabwean abroad, I don't know about most people in Zim, but people, like I said, I've spoken to, I've seen, they're happy with this. But some people are attacking these girls. Zimbabweans aren't racist. We don't care, bro. As long as you're representing the country. We've got white sports people, cricket, swimmers. We love them. You get me? If they're respecting the country, they're showing respect to the country, the culture, and so on. It's all good. It's like black people like me in the UK, bro. I respect this country. I love this country. You get me? If I was to represent this country, I would do it respecting the culture and so on. And most people wouldn't give a crap. So why should we have that double standards? Forget that nonsense, bro. It's like, I think a few weeks ago, I found out one of the mayors in Zim now is white. Again, if he's once fair and square, if he's going to work in that office correctly and execute his role properly, I don't give a flying toss, bro. Even there can be a white president of Zimbabwe once. I don't care. As long as they're doing the role correctly, it doesn't matter.
Okay, guys, so a white woman wins Miss Zimbabwe. That's cultural appropriation. You're not African. Africans are black, right? So I guess Africans are giving away to white people their own culture, the same white people that's oppressing them, the same white people that would never give them that opportunity to be Miss Finland, Miss Russia, or Miss France. I can't believe that. This is why Africans stay in poverty and colonize, because they don't have pride in their blackness and they keep on giving away their blackness, because you couldn't do that in Europe. Europeans will not take no African and put them on top in no European beauty pageant. That would never happen. They have too much pride in their race. Africans need to have some more pride, and that's why they're in poverty and colonized, because they keep on giving away to white people. They sold their own people into slavery, so I don't feel sorry for them. Yeah, so they get what they get. I don't feel sorry for them. No pride. This is what leads to.
In case a lot of you don't remember who Lydia is, she's the lady from the RBC podcast with Caramel that went viral a couple of months ago for having controversial takes on certain topics. The reason a lot of Nigerians are not happy that Lydia is representing the country has nothing to do with that, but all to do with the fact that she's a biracial / light-skinned lady representing a nation that is mostly filled with dark-skinned population. First comment we have here says, I wish Miss Nigeria was a monoracial Nigerian. Next person says, her beauty features are very European. It's important African or proper Nigerian beauty features are emphasized, but you're making it look like people are hating on her. Why is a biracial woman representing Nigeria? Why does Miss Nigeria look like a white woman? More comments on why she's light or white, and someone says, as a Nigerian, the Ghanaian lady represented the proper black woman. Last comment here just went all out and even questioned if she was a Nigerian to begin with. This person says, nobody is saying she's not Nigerian enough, but let's be real, a light-skinned, almost white-looking girl representing the most populous black nation in the world just does not sit right. I think I kind of understand this. First of all, let me make this clear. Personally, I don't care that she's representing Nigeria. I don't have a problem with her skin tone. I don't care if she's light skin or dark skin. I think she's just as Nigerian as I am because she grew up here and there are pictures all over the internet to prove that. And her name is Lydia Balogun. I mean, come on. I don't think this should be a big deal, but I'm not going to sit here and lie and tell you I don't understand where those people are coming from, especially with the last comment about Nigeria being the most populous black nation. I think it's okay to want to see a representation that depicts what the majority of the population looks like in the country, especially with what happened in Zimbabwe recently with a white woman coming out as Miss Universe Zimbabwe. In case you are not familiar with the gist, there was serious backlash about a white woman winning Miss Universe Zimbabwe in the pool of black and dark-skinned women to be selected from. I mean, it was very chaotic. So I think I definitely get the arguments from both perspectives, because on one hand, it's okay to want a direct, proper and accurate representation of yourself in these types of situations. But on the other hand, these people were born and raised here, they are citizens. So why should they be treated any differently simply because of their skin tone? And also, there were people arguing, oh, you don't see this in Western countries with mostly white population. Well, that's not true. If anything, the West is known for promoting diversity, inclusivity, I think that's the word, and all that stuff. So I don't think that's a true argument, but I stand to be corrected at the end of the day. I just don't think it's true. Finally, there were people trying to lessen, or should I say diminish, her Nigerianness simply because of her skin tone. And I just think, do better. She's not less a Nigerian simply because she's biracial or light-skinned. Like, just get that in your head.
The way non-Zimbabweans have the loudest opinions about our Miss Universe being white, like, your opinion doesn't matter if you're not Zimbabwean. Zimbabwean is not an ethnicity. It's a nationality. The Zimbabwe nation is a group of many different ethnicities. Ethnicity is if you're Ndebele, Shona, white, colored, Indian, but Zimbabweanness isn't an ethnicity. So our ethnicities are black, but our citizens are not only black, they are a variety of colors. And so as long as Brooke was born in Zimbabwe and she understands our culture and represents our culture well, like, we literally don't give a fuck. We've got bigger problems to worry about. Our inflation rate is the second highest in the world. Our elections were rigged 2 weeks ago. We fucking have a terrible economy and dictatorship and whatnot. Like, we don't care, okay? Like, if she won fair and square and she deserved it, then cool, because people forget that, you know, winning a pageant isn't only about whether you're beautiful or not. There are so many different criteria that are considered, like your contribution to society, your intelligence, your personality, and if based on those criteria she won, then like, just leave her the fuck alone. We really don't care. Miss Ireland was black, even if indigenous Irish people are white. And, you know, people are going to say that, you know, black people who are in Europe got there because of slavery and whatnot. But hey, Miss Japan 2015 was half black and it caused controversy. And people were defending her by saying that, well, she was born in Japan. And so it's the same thing here. And, you know, like, just because you are black coming from another country doesn't qualify you to then give opinions as if you represent African black people, especially the people with the loudest opinions are black people in America and the UK. Your opinion is irrelevant. Zimbabwean is not an ethnicity. It's a nationality.
Yes, it's a nationality, but this does not make your defense of white Miss Zimbabwe any better, because the whole concept of nation states is apartheid on a global scale, and it's a colonial concept, okay? To choose this mid-white lady as Miss Zimbabwe perpetuates a racist set of values. Probably not even Miss Austria should be white. In the established hierarchy of desirability in this world, white women have always been ranked on the top of the aesthetic ladder, even though they looked like Hitler's parade horse. And that's why so many black women bleach their skin, straighten their hair, and that's why white Miss Zimbabwe is harmful.
The way non-Zimbabweans have the loudest opinions about our Miss Universe.
I think it's okay that people are upset about this. So in the video, you say like non-Zimbabweans having the loudest voices on Zimbabweans issues. So I'm actually Zimbabwean. I was born in Harare and I was raised in Victoria Falls. My mother is a commissioner of sport for the country. So I'm familiar with pageantry politics and things like that, because the sporting world is not entirely dissimilar from, you know, conventions like Miss Universe and things like that. I agree in that it's not the biggest issue in the world. Zimbabwe is very different from other African countries when it comes to race. But I actually do understand why people are quite upset about this, because I don't follow the competition very closely, and I understand that there's more that goes into the competition than looks. It's also things like intelligence and ideals and other facets of pageantry that I don't really know too much about. But it would be naive to assume that we don't live in a world where the bottom line with these kinds of things isn't the way that someone looks. And Miss Universe and Miss World and pageants like these things are riddled with corruption and unfair advantages, and they also shape the way that we see beauty standards, and often negatively. And I know that obviously living in Africa, Eurocentric beauty standards have been an incredible social obstacle for African people to overcome, because it's been imposed onto indigenous African people time and time again. Which is why we see things like the rising popularity of skin bleach and hair relaxers. But these things don't exist in a vacuum, obviously. And so I think that when we make someone who is a white person the pinnacle of a competition that at its core, regardless of all these other elements that are key components to it, a beauty competition. I know that Miss Universe is not a beauty competition in its entirety, but one of its supporting pillars is beauty. And a lot of people look at these competitions as the pinnacle of beauty and the standard for beauty. And when we look at a contestant from an African country like Zimbabwe, and it's a white woman, I do think that it kind of contributes to this harmful beauty standard that has been imposed into African countries for decades. But I think it would be naive to not understand why people are upset by this.
We literally don't give a
She said something along the lines of, not really being specific, that it's irrelevant, that our comment does not matter, basically. Okay, I will reserve my comment on that one. Point is, I do understand where their perspective is coming from. This lady also mentioned that in Ireland they crowned a black woman. Cool. Because the public, which is white, did not receive it well. Just like in Italy, the public did not receive when they were casting black models well. To this day, they want Italian women to represent them. They do not want other people, whether they are black, Indian, Asian, to represent Italy. They want their women to represent their country. And it's normal to want that, yeah? I mean, we can also take this in context when we say a Zimbabwean-born South African becomes Miss South Africa. The public, when they found out that she is actually Zimbabwean, they would not receive it well. Because we want our people to represent us. We want people that look like us, who are ingrained in our society, to represent us. It's normal. So don't tell people that they shouldn't feel some type of way when they see a white woman from England who just has a passport, and then suddenly she's crowned Miss Zimbabwe and she doesn't look like what the population looks like. It's not giving representation. It's not. And this is why these most European countries just want their women to represent them. And we shouldn't be mad when they don't want black people, because even those black people in those spaces know that they don't get the opportunity to represent their country. Even though they've been born in Italy, even though they've been born in America, even though they've been born in England, they don't get the opportunity like Brooke to represent their country, even when they are born there and raised there and ingrained in the culture. Systemically, they are not recognized. So we shouldn't be too quick to tell them not to feel the way that they feel. Okay? I mean, if you can accept Brooke because she ingraded herself, because she has a passport of Zimbabwe, then we can certainly allow other black people to put in their 2 cents in it.
Now, with all things said and done, I want us to really talk about it. Indigenous Africans are black. Other people in Africa that are not black, I'm talking about the Arabs, the palm-colored people, the people with Indian heritage as well, that are now Africans in quotes by virtue of nationality. They are not the real indigenous Africans. And if we are to tell ourselves the truth about how they got here, we know that it's through colonialism and some form of oppression of black people or the other. And some countries have successfully wiped out a majority of their black population, while some countries that have some non-black people have these non-black people who are usually a minority actually controlling majority of the wealth in these predominantly black African countries. So given the history of how these non-black people became Africans, in quotes, by nationality, I can understand why some indigenous Africans would not be in a hurry to accept them as one of their own. Right? Because the history of how they even got there in the first place is nasty. Let's not even lie about it. So now, it just sparked a conversation about representation, and are we doing ourselves a disservice by letting people who do not look like majority of the people in that country represent us, especially when it comes to a beauty pageant? Now, if it was something that didn't have to do with the person's physical appearance, maybe if it was a sports event or tournament, or I don't know, something that didn't have to do with the way they looked physically, I might have thought differently about it. But now we're talking about people who do not fit into the main features and skin tone of the majority of the people in a particular country, now going to represent them in a beauty pageant. So definitely, for it to be a beauty pageant, their skin color plays a role, their features plays a role, the way they basically look matters. That is why it is a beauty pageant. So now I can understand why it is a problem to take someone who does not represent how the majority of the people in that particular country look to go and represent them. So does this mean that we are saying this is what we see and approve as the standard of beauty in our countries? Now, in the case of the Nigerian lady, she's biracial. She has a Nigerian parent, and obviously the both ladies, the Zimbabwean and the Nigerian, were born and bred in these African countries. So they know about the culture, they speak like people from these countries. I'm guessing people from these countries could find them relatable in that sense. But when it comes to the beauty, the features, the skin tone, not exactly. Now, in the case of the biracial lady, yes, we know we have light-skinned Nigerians who are as light-skinned as her, even lighter skin than her. But now when it comes to the features, what does her hair look like? What is her eye color? What is the shape of her nose? Like, there's definitely going to be some features that give her off to show that she's not a monoracial black person. So that argument of, oh, but they are lighter skinned Nigerians, even lighter than this lady, does not really hold water to me. So I went through the comment section and I was seeing different comments. People are saying she's Nigerian and that's what matters. People are saying she's biracial, that who are biracial people supposed to represent? If we black people reject them and refuse them to actually represent us, palm-colored people too may reject them. So where are they supposed to belong? Like, we should not reject one of our own. And there are also people who are saying majority of the beauty queens are actually dark-skinned indigenous African people. So is it a big deal if just this one time somebody who may not exactly look like us but is actually one of us represents us? Are we being dramatic by calling this out? And then there was a comment I saw that just made me shake my head, where this person was talking about how we Africans or Nigerians are trying to pick up the attitude of being offended by everything, just like the African Americans. And I just shook my head, because if our people were educated on colorism, featureism, representation, lack of diversity in the media and all of that, that affect black people generally worldwide, okay? But especially in predominantly white countries, e.g. America, I feel like the way we think about these things will be different. From my personal experience, I'm a makeup artist. I've worked with models. I've worked on sets of music videos, and I see that there's a preferential treatment given to the biracial people. I'm not even going to lie. You see them being more sought after in this industry, in the modeling and entertainment industry. You see them even paid higher than their regular melanated counterparts in the industry. But it is harder for us to even notice and call it out because we are predominantly black and we might not really notice. And the reason I said we might not even notice that colorism affects us over here in Africa too is because we still get to see enough representation of our regular monoracial dark-skinned women. But if a lot of us educate ourselves on this colorism and featureism and representation, we will notice that this is a problem. And this is why a lot of our girls in Africa are bleaching their skin. Let's not even lie about it. A lot of young girls are bowing to that peer pressure, especially if they want to be in the beauty industry. So sending this biracial and white woman to represent us in beauty pageants, what are we saying to the young black girl who is watching? Are we telling her that this is the standard of beauty, even though they are a minority, but this is what we consider beautiful? But then on the other hand, is it fair for us to dismiss their Nigerianness or their Zimbabweanness if they have been born and bred in the country, they know the culture, their ancestors have been there for a while, or maybe in the case of the Nigerian girl, she has one Nigerian parent? Should we dismiss the fact that she's one of us by saying she shouldn't represent us simply because they are a minority or they do not represent the majority of us? This is something I want us to drop our opinions about in the comment section. But in the case of Miss Zimbabwe, I think if she was biracial, it might have even been more palatable. That is my opinion, you guys. Zimbabweans, please don't come for me. I personally would have preferred if it was a regular indigenous dark-skinned melanated woman, but I saw someone that drew this comparison that got me thinking, and I want to hear your opinions about it, guys. If there's so much uproar about Miss Zimbabwe because she basically represents a minority and not the majority of the Zimbabwean people, what are we going to say about maybe a country like America being represented by maybe a dark-skinned woman in a beauty contest? After all, dark-skinned black African-American people are also a minority in America. So can we draw the same comparison? I want you guys to also let me know what you think about that in the comment section. So let's wrap up this video here. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.